The first time I read this book to our daughter, I fell in love with it. It's such a beautiful little story, and it's written so well. The only problem is today you have to think about the idea of a bunch of girls in a school being looked after by a nun. You'll see, it's a very nice story, but I don't think it's very modern. It's what you would call classic literature. This will always be a favorite story, but you have to think about where it takes place. So here we go. Madeleine by Ludwig Bemelmans. I almost know the poetry by heart. In an old house in Paris that was covered with vines, lived 12 little girls in 2 straight lines. In 2 straight lines, they broke their bread and brushed their teeth and went to bed. They smiled at the good and frowned at the bad. And sometimes they were very sad. They left the house at 9:30 in 2 straight lines. In rain or shine. The smallest one was Madeleine. She was not afraid of mice. See the little mouse on the floor? She loved winter, snow, and ice. To the tiger in the zoo, Madeleine just said, "Pooh, pooh." And nobody knew so well how to frighten Miss Clavel. In the middle of the night, Miss Clavel turned on her light and said, "Something is not right." Little Madeleine sat in bed and cried and cried. Her eyes were red. And soon after Dr. Cone came, he rushed out to the phone. And he dialed Danton 106. "Nurse," he said, "it's an appendix." Everybody had to cry. Not a single eye was dry. Madeleine was in his arms, in a blanket, safe and warm. In a car with a red light, they drove off into the night. Madeleine woke up 2 hours later in a room with flowers. Madeleine soon ate and drank. On her bread there was a crank, and a crack in the ceiling had the habit of sometimes looking like a rabbit. Outside were birds and trees and sky, and so the days passed quickly by. Until one morning, Miss Clavel said, "Isn't this a fine day to visit Madeleine?" Visitors from 2 to 4, said a sign outside her door, tiptoeing with solemn faces, with some roses and a vase, with some flowers and a vase. Then said, when they saw in the dollhouse from Papa. But the biggest surprise by far was was on her stomach. There was a scar. Goodbye, they said, we'll come again. And then, like girls left in the rain, and then the little girls left in the rain. They went home and broke their bread, brushed their teeth, and went to bed. In the middle of the night, Miss Clavel turned out on the light and said, "Something is not right." And afraid of a disaster, she ran fast and faster. And she said, "Please, children, do tell me what's bothering you." And all the little girls cried, "Boo-hoo, we want to have our appendix out too." "Good night, little girls. Thank the Lord you are well. And now go to sleep," said Miss Clavel. And she turned out the light and closed the door. And that's all there is. There isn't any more. Well, there's a lot in that story to think about. Paris, appendix, 12 little girls in 2 straight lines, a scar on the stomach, and why did they all want to have their appendix out too? Lots for you to think about. You talk to your mommy and your daddy about that and see what they say. Now good night, little girls. Sleep tight. And good night, big boys too. Boys enjoyed the story too, I'm sure.